to the October 22nd Board of Education meeting for the East China School District. I'm going to start with a moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start our agenda, I'm going to do amendment to the agenda, adding 2 items, if we could so. Under option 7, we are adding the transfer of option purchase agreement on ECEC. And then also on number 9, our action item, this is in regards to the audit that we're looking at tonight. It has been best practices of this board to do it to vote on it at the next meeting, giving us time to look any questions we may have that can be answered before we vote. So we are putting that vote on postponement till the next meeting. Need a motion? Move? Support?
Support.
Comments or questions? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. So carried. Thank you. Board of Education members, items of interest. Anybody? Oh. Mrs. Ibula.
Good evening. A couple things for me tonight. The first is last Thursday we had the second community engagement session, and again, just like the first one, there were over 100 community members that attended. There was good discussion and information sharing, and we sure do appreciate the time commitment and the hard work of our bond steering committee and those within the community that came out to learn the information that the bond steering committee had to share with them. If you are unable to attend either of the community sessions, both of the sessions were videotaped, and thank you to Paul Dingeman for that. And the links to these videos are located on East China's main webpage, so you can find them there. I just wanted to mention, although you're here tonight at the PAC is the Marine City High School Choir Concert. We wish them good luck. They always do a great job. I also want to send congratulations to our own trustee, Mr. Todd Disselrath, for his new appointment as the principal of Chippewa Valley High School, so congratulations. I also want to congratulate Tina Thrift tonight. I received notification from the Michigan School Business Office that she has completed the requirements and has earned the Chief Financial Officer certification. So thank you, Tina, for your continued dedication to your profession. Both Marine City and St. Clair are in the football playoffs, and they both play at home this weekend. St. Clair is going to play Yale Friday at 7, and Marine City is going to play Clawson home here at 7 p.m. So good luck to both teams. Thank you.
Next item is special recognition, East China Education Foundation grants. Mr. Mike Domagowski.
Good evening, President Bewer, Superintendent Cibula, and many members of the crowd, which is fantastic to see. My name is Mike Domagowski. I'm the chair of the East China Educational Foundation. I'm also here with Mr. Ron Miller, also on the East China board. We are happy tonight to present the 2018 Fall Grant Awards. A little bit about the foundation. The endowment fund, it is funded through the endowment fund through the Community Foundation of St. Clair County. And an interesting thing to note, with the fall 2018 awards that we're granting tonight, over $157,000 has been given out in grants. So once again, 19 grants tonight, ranging from $125 to $750 are being awarded tonight for a total of nearly $8,000. So we'll get right to it. Congratulations to Beth Trudeau from Eddy Elementary School. Beth will be purchasing stress relief balls, wobble seats, lap desks, and noise-canceling headphones to assist her students that struggle with sensory or attention issues. Is she here? Next up, Anna Schroeder from Riverview East High School. Anna will be using her $222 to purchase manipulatives that will give her students a conceptual understanding of material, which helps students understand math in a more concrete way. Congratulations to Paul Dimmer from Marine City High School. Paul will be purchasing new stools for labs in his classroom labs. Kelly Robbins from Bell River Elementary School. She'll be purchasing materials to build a little free pantry for Bell River Elementary. The little free pantry will be self-sustained through food drives held at the school. And she also received a $369 grant that will purchase a Kindle Fire and a Dot and Dash codable robot for her classroom. So congratulations, Kelly Robbins. Next up, we have Megan Hargrave from Gearing Elementary. Megan will be purchasing sensory tools to improve students' ability to focus and engage in work completion in the classroom. Congratulations to Kelly Woodhouse of Palms Elementary School. Kelly will be purchasing materials that will be used as kindergarten students begin their day in her classroom. The materials will encourage creativity, problem solving, and choice. Next up, Barb Smith from Marine City Middle School. Barb will be using the award to bring the Science Alive program to the 6th grade students at Marine City Middle. Congrats, Barb. Next up, we have Marnie Williams from Marine City High School. Marnie will be purchasing new stools for her art room. Congrats to Jason Diller from St. Clair High School. Jason will be purchasing Americana card games that will allow students to practice cause and effect skills and also encourage sequencing of events in U.S. history. Lisa Kane from Gearing Elementary, she will be purchasing supplies for her LINK program. Congrats to Amy Larson from Gearing Elementary. She will be purchasing sensory toys for students with hearing impairments to engage their senses in a variety of ways while working on their speech and language goals. Jason Perrin will be purchasing 4 Dell Chromebooks for use in his classroom. The students will use them in areas of virtual labs, learning websites, and also the technicalities of digital assessment submissions. Tracy Bendit. Mrs. Bendit will be taking her students to Liberty Riders Horse Farm, where they will learn about how to take care of the horses and commands needed to make the horses go and stop and much more. So congrats, Tracy. Mrs. Pam Young from Marine City Middle School. Mrs. Young will be purchasing 25 pairs of goggles, electronics kits, and Freedom Fight Elastic Launch Glider models for her chemistry labs and Marine City Middle School Science Olympiad team. Congrats. Mrs. Stephanie Visnaw from Eddy Elementary. Stephanie will purchase 4 hockey stools for her classroom. Rachel Radigan from Gearing Elementary. The early childhood special education teachers at Gearing will be purchasing items that will assist in toilet training. Kathy Vandermeulen from Pine River Elementary, congratulations. She will be purchasing food items, craft materials, and games for use during learning lunches for her class and their peer supports. Rebecca Dunn from Bell River Elementary School. Rebecca will purchase standing desks for her students to use in the classroom. Congrats, Mrs. Dunn. And once again, congratulations to all the 2018 Fall Grant recipients. The foundation will obviously always accept donations. It's up on your screen there. You can make checks payable to the Community Foundation of St. Clair County and the East China Educational Foundation. They can be dropped off here also in the superintendent's office. And congratulations to all the recipients. Thank you so much.
Look at that. Oh, just make sure your certificates are facing the appropriate direction.
Next item on our agenda is the Academic Spotlight, Pine River Elementary School. Rachel Card, Principal, Student Council.
Good evening, Superintendent Cybula, President Beaver, and members of the Board of Education. I'm very proud to present our Student Council this evening. To begin, at Pine River, we decided to add a school improvement goal to our academic goals. We know that we're trying to develop the whole child and develop skills that aren't necessarily explicit in the curriculum but are important for real life. So we added a goal of all students will improve in their self-awareness as learners and citizens in the school community. And one way that we do that is to develop leadership skills. And the Student Council plays a big role. Not only do they serve as leaders, they teach all of our students how to be good leaders. I'm really excited that we have Mrs. Julie Beach, a 5th grade teacher, and Mrs. Tanya Houston, a 4th grade teacher, who have volunteered their time without any pay to serve as advisors for the committee or for the Student Council. They come to school at 8 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes they stay until 6 o'clock at night putting on events. And we could not facilitate this program without them. So I'm going to introduce Mrs. Julie Beach and Mrs. Tanya Houston.
Good evening. Elementary Student Council presents a unique opportunity for young people to learn and grow organizational, teamwork, and leadership skills. All of these skills are really necessary to be successful in life. From coming up with ideas and goals and putting those goals into use and being able to see the positive impact that it has on others are what makes our Student Council program so special, because it really does have a lasting impact on the learning experience to see the result of something that they planned and that they put into place. It also enriches their learning because it helps them find the leader within themselves, and ultimately it guides them to become well-rounded citizens. At this time, I would like to turn over the presentation to the stars of tonight's program, the Pine River Elementary Student Council.
Hello, my name is Ezra Tauby, and I'm going to be talking to you about Student Council. Are you interested in helping others in our school and community? Would you like to work towards making our school a better place? If so, you are perfect for Student Council. Student Council is an organization of students who work toward improving their school and community. Student Council is made up of representatives from 4th and 5th grade. The Student Council meets throughout the month to coordinate school and community projects. The Student Council requirements: you have to be a good role model, demonstrate leadership qualities, maintain good citizenship grades S and citizenship, no office referrals, maintain grades of A's and B's, maintain good attendance, view absences and tardies, be available before and after school to attend meetings and school events.
Hello, my name is Molly McNabb, and today I will be talking to you about the Student Council elections. In order to be on Student Council, you had to apply and submit your grades from the previous year, and you had to interview.
I treat everybody in school with respect. I am a very independent and reliable student. I will represent Pine River with pride because Student Council is a team organization. I will be able to work well with others on Student Council.
I believe I am a strong candidate for representing Pine River Elementary because I always follow the Pioneer Code for being kind, courteous, respectful, responsible, and always safe.
I'm strong for this job because I'm a good math counter. I like this job because I like to be a leader and I like to be organized.
I work very hard to achieve my goals and complete my assignments. I am able to learn new things quickly and stay organized. I have great relationships with my former teachers, and I am sure that they will give me a positive reference.
I'd be a great candidate for student council because I am someone that an adult can trust, responsible with money and events, and I'm very helpful setting up.
A good quality that I have is that I can give my opinion in a nice way.
I'm great at speaking in public, and this is a great tool for student council because you need to talk in the school community.
Three character traits that would benefit a student council is I am great at staying organized, paying attention to a lot of details, and I am hard.
Leadership skills are an important part of student council in being able to represent our school in a positive way.
I will be good at student council because I work hard, I am flexible, and also I am a dependable pioneer. I want to make Pine River an even better school. Here are the 2018-2019 student council who got good grades and were elected to office. 2018-2019 student council officers: President Dane Robinson, Vice President Molly McNabb, Treasurer Lauren Meyer, Secretary Zakio John, Public Relations Haley Baylock. I will also be talking to you about the school community. Spirit Days. Show your school spirit by participating in our Spirit Day events. School store. As a council member, you get to help buy, order, and provide as much needed merchandise to help our Pioneer family. You get to also run the store and handle the money. It is a good cause, for all the money helps Pine River Elementary, Pine River Stars Assemblies. We get to not only run the assemblies, but we get to plan them as well. During the school-wide gathering, we honor accomplishments of our pioneers and enjoy presentations that reinforce the Pioneer Code. Hello, I am Lily Hack, and I will be talking to you about community outreach. It's October. Last year, we supported a new sock donation program that benefited people in our community. Our student council collected 633 pairs of socks during our Socktober sock drive. All donations were given to kids in distress for them to distribute. We are looking forward to hosting yet another sock drive this year. Lemonade War. After reading our One School, One Book, The Lemonade War, we had a competition against Gearing with a goal to sell the most lemonade. Both sides were winners since the money was donated to charities both in our community and beyond. The proud pioneers who raised the money selling lemonade presented a check for $1,194.49 to Kids in Distress Services. Hello, my name is Haley Baylock, and I'll be talking to you about Beyond Our Community. Kick Out Cancer, St. Jude's. We help the St. Jude's program, which is a great program that benefits kids with cancer. Our student council had lots of fun organizing and running a kickball tournament that raised more than $1,400 for St. Jude's. Pop Tab fundraiser. We are kicking off our 2018 charity fundraiser by collecting Pop Tab donations that will help raise money for donations to the Ronald McDonald House charities. The Ronald McDonald House is a great organization that gives a place for parents to stay while they are visiting their kids in the hospital. This month's Pop Tab War theme was based on the Michigan State football game. It was a battle back and forth, but in the end, Michigan State was the winner. Other themes will follow in the next months.
Student Council. Student Council is a student organization dedicated to the school and community service. We assist in special school-wide events and activities. We are looking forward to a great year servicing our community and beyond. Thank you for listening to our presentation.
Are there any questions?
Any questions?
No questions, just keep up the good work.
Just amazed how much money you've raised and how you have donated it, not only in our district and our hometown, but all over. Congratulations.
Good job, guys.
Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Motion needed for approval of minutes, September 24th, 2018 regular meeting, September 27th, 2018 special meeting, approval of payment of bills, financial statement, schedule of investments.
So moved.
Moved? Supported? Comments or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. So carried. Next item is recognition of persons wishing to address the board. I have one green card. Nancy Mott.
I can clear out a room, eh? Good evening. My name is Nancy Mott. Good evening, Superintendent Saibula, Mr. Bewer, and members of the board. Since our September meeting, teachers have been extremely busy. We have been working on curriculum and enriching activities to make learning fun for our students. We have been communicating with parents via email, face-to-face, and phone calls, making contacts to build better home, student, and school relationships. We have been creating agendas for our new PLCs and working together to reach their common goals. We have been filling out grant applications, as you saw tonight. 19 were awarded today for classroom needs. We have been scheduling and or learning how to help parents schedule or sign up for parent conferences we are having this week at the middle school and high school level. And they are doing that online this year in all of these secondary buildings. We have been setting up classes for the NWEA testing that is going on right now, and we are learning to read and implement those results to help our students achieve goals. So I don't have a lot of things to share with you specifically from teachers because we have been so busy doing some of these other things, but I do have a few I want to share. Amy Langmesser, Pine River's resource room teacher, accepted a 2000 Voya Unsung Heroes Grant Award on behalf of Pine River on October 11th. The award will be used to purchase sensory therapy equipment for the school's sensory room. Sue Day and Melissa Bardecki's students participated in the annual Eddy 5th grade camp day on Thursday, October 4th. The students had an extended day at Camp Tamarack where they participated in group initiatives, team building activities, archery, and canoeing. All of these activities supported their participation in the Positivity Project. Vocabulary.com is a vocabulary website that Riverview East High School students use to help students expand their vocabulary. The site also keeps track of how many words students from a particular school master and rank the schools in a vocabulary bowl contest. Riverview East High School is currently ranked 3rd in St. Clair County. They are above 2 schools north of us. I don't want to mention any names, but they were very happy about that fact. This month, the Palms 4th and 5th grade classes and their teachers, Mandy Mychek, Donna Versteegden, and Pam Militello, participated in the Think Energy program sponsored by DTE and Semco Energy. The students enjoyed this interactive presentation, and they also received a kit full of energy-saving devices to install in their own homes. The 6th graders at Marine City Middle School served as biologists in a simulation research study through the San Diego Zoo Conservation Program. Students in Barb Smith's science classes used radio telemetry to locate 9 desert tortoises. They then examined the distance each tortoise traveled, their health status, and their location determined the most favorable place to relocate the tortoises in the desert. This past September, St. Clair Middle School and Marine City Middle School students and parents traveled on the annual Washington, D.C. trip. While they were there, the trip is jam-packed with numerous activities from visiting monuments and memorials to exploring museums, riding a nighttime riverboat cruise along the Potomac River, participating in the laying of the wreath ceremony at the Arlington National Cemetery, and much more. All the history teachers are enjoying sharing their passion with their students after they come back from this trip. September 28th was Kindergarten Apple Day at Pine River.
Students in Mrs. Schneider's and Miss Duda's kindergarten classes participated in a variety of Apple-themed learning activities, including creating Apple art, solving Apple math problems, tasting and graphing favorite apples, and of course, making applesauce. Marine City Middle School had 8 students submit auditions for the MSVMA Honors Choir Program. On Saturday, October 20th, all 8 students participated in the Regional Honors Choir and performed at South Lyon East High School. Congratulations to the following students: Courtney Witherow, Emma Griefor, Tara Van Buskirk, Grace Mars, Avery Krantz, Molly Beaker, Ryan Sicken, and Skylar Provost. Congratulations to those students under the direction of Bert Van Dyke. And that is all I have for you right now until next month. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next item on our agenda is the information discussion items. First one is the transfer of option of purchase agreement.
Thank you, President Bieber. I'm going to ask Mr. Kurt Gazelka, the Director of Operations for East China School District, to give his update first, and then I will be available for questions afterwards.
Good evening. I put together a presentation in regards to the East China Education Center. First, we're going to look at some pictures and comments about the state of the building, and then towards the end we'll look at some of the costs associated with it. The year that it was built was 1922. It had additions in 54, 74, 79, 89, and it currently now totals 77,469 square feet. ECEC operates on a steam boiler system. The steam heating system includes the use of condensate returns and a large number of steam traps. Building that size would be probably around 150 of them, just to give you an idea. And they all need constant maintenance and adjustment because they blow steam by when you don't keep up with them. Steam boilers also require expensive chemicals to protect against corrosion. That's some of those on the floor. They reduce the oxygen and other corrosives and balance the pH in the liquid in the system to prevent the corrosion. So it's one of the more expensive types of systems to maintain. This is the condensate return. That's how you get the water that's condensated in the system back to the boilers to be converted back to steam. Some of the antiquated old DOS-based controls, again, that we talked about, they are here present at ECEC. This is a picture of some of those along with some of the plumbing, and as you can see, it's getting quite old. This is the domestic hot water system. Just to give you an idea of how old some of this stuff, this was installed in 1992 and has a projected 20-year life cycle on that type of hot water heater. So we're well beyond that. Some mortar deterioration on the upper levels of the chimney. It may be a little bit hard to see, but it's getting to the point where it definitely is going to need some tuck pointing and some maintenance to keep it from becoming unstable. Some structural concerns. This is a picture right outside of the west side of the building by the door back there. The earth itself is starting to erode, and in turn the blacktop is starting to sink, and the cement structure around that pit that leads down to the boiler room is starting to shift and move. So it's some pretty serious structural concerns. This also is structural. It's the brick wall inside the gymnasium. You can see that we've caulked it over the years, try to prevent water from coming in, but nonetheless it's still a structural concern. This is an idea, give you an idea of how old some of the facilities are. This is actually showers in the boys' locker room on the main level, so they would certainly need to be repaired and upgraded. Some bathroom fixtures throughout the building are no longer in use due to different failures. Conditions of the roof and ceilings. Some of the areas in the roof are certainly in dire need of replacement. Over the old cafeteria in particular, I've patched up the seams the last 2 years in a row on that roof to get us by to keep the water from coming in. It's certainly beyond its life cycle. This is that space that I was just talking about underneath. I'm trying to keep up with the ceiling tiles the best I can, but we're constantly patching leaks. This is an example of some of the water damage that's taken place over the years in the building from various failures. This is inside of the kitchen. As you can see, all the paint is starting to peel and flake right off the wall from the moisture levels. Another example of it, this is actually in a well-used hallway where we come in the back door right where the alarm pad is in the building. So these aren't really inconspicuous areas. They're throughout the building. And we get to the end. This is operational cost slide. This shows what the utility usage is on the top for the last number of years. And then on the bottom, I noted what actual operating cost is. So that's the utility cost plus the maintenance and grounds expense that we incur throughout the year for a total cost of between $75,000 and $100,000 per year, depending on what failures take place, how many snowfalls, etc., how much gas prices are. But that's a pretty accurate estimate of expense per year right there. And then I was asked to work on what it would cost to demolish this building, and I consulted with TMP over the last few days, along with my own knowledge. I demolished 4 schools so far in my career, so these numbers are our best estimates at this time, given the current market. And we figure based on the amount of asbestos in the building, it could range anywhere between $1 million and $1.5 million to take that building down, meeting all the current requirements for EPA, OSHA, and MyOSHA, and that's restoring it back to a grass covered site. So, if there's any questions, be happy to answer them.
Yeah, please. I know last time we discussed this, we asked questions and got adequate answers, but because it's up again, I would like to talk just a little bit about it. So we spent somewhere in the neighborhood of $60,000 a year just in maintenance, correct?
Just in utilities.
Just in utilities.
Yeah.
And maintenance on top of that.
Yes.
Okay. And demolition costs, you say, is somewhere between $1 million and $1.5 million. Do we know, say we decided to keep it and somehow demolish this building, what would the property value be? Do we have like a ballpark of that? Would it cover $1 million, $1.5 million that it would take? Okay.
No, I can confidently say no to that.
Okay. And should we approve this again tonight, what are our responsibilities as a district going forward with this building and that site?
Well, if you completed the sale and the deed transferred to them, then there would be no longer any district responsibility for that site or that property.
So all maintenance, everything?
Everything would become theirs.
Transfers to the new buyer?
Correct.
Thank you.
Last time there were still things going on in the school, basketball practice, so forth. Is there anything in that school now, or is it totally vacant?
Channel 6 is using a portion of the building right now, and St. Clair Rec does a few things in there. They play pickleball. Everything else has pretty much been scaled back. The church is using it on Sundays, but they recently mentioned to me that they may be relocating anyways.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So if some of these worst things were to happen soon, as far as you showed the foundation issues, what would we be looking at money-wise if we had to fix something without...
Some of the minor, what I consider to be minor failures would be in the tens of thousands. If you had some serious structural failures or even some of the worst case scenarios, it would be hundreds of thousands. You know, a new roof, I mean, I've been trying to patch that roof and get it by for quite a while. They're telling me that, you know, I'm not going to be able to buy much more time on doing what I've been doing. That small area of roof right above the cafeteria would probably be $70,000-$80,000 just in that one small area. The roof on the whole building, you'd be a couple million. I mean, structural repairs, they're certainly in the hundreds of thousands. You know, one of the other presentations that I gave a few months back was how many feet of pipe and how many miles of wire and all these types of things. When you start to have those types of failures, the cost can skyrocket real quick. I mean, I've turned off plumbing to some bathrooms in the building. I turned off the water and the plumbing to some of the bathrooms over the years because of leaks in walls where we couldn't afford to tear into the wall to try to find the pipe to fix it. So there's some bathrooms in the front of the auditorium that are no longer in use right now because of that reason. So we've done a real good job of trying to minimize output of our capital and expense on, you know, failures and breakdowns that have happened in the building. But if you were to try to start repairing some of these things to make it usable again for us, it compounds and multiplies very quickly. The other thing is once you've been out of a building for more than 4 years and it hasn't been used as a school, you have to bring everything up to code to reoccupy it as a school. So really, it's impossible that the district could ever even consider using that as a school again. It's not even feasible, just with the code considerations alone.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your expertise.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kirk. So,
No, go ahead.
pardon me. So, the transfer of option purchase agreement, that is item 7A on the agenda. In October 23rd of 2017, we entered into an agreement with the Michigan Stage Festival. They have since found another wonderful opportunity for their vision, and I've been approached by another buyer that would like to assume that option to purchase the property of ECEC under the same conditions. And I am asking that the board consider this transfer option purchase agreement. And as our practice and past practice, we'll vote on it at our next board meeting of November 12th. But this transfer agreement is the exact same purchase agreement that the Michigan Stage Festival has. We're just transferring it to a new buyer. May I answer any questions?
In an effort to provide some transparency, I know when we first okayed this with the Michigan Stage Festival, we told the public what it was going to be for. Mm-hmm. Do we have any idea what the potential buyer will be doing with the property?
Yes, in my discussions with the buyer, it will have 3 uses. The office space is needed for this buyer, possible millennial lofts, housing space, and then parking.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other question? All right, so this will be on action items for next month.
Next meeting, November 12th, yep.
Next item, reports, is Mr. Curtis McBride for McBride Manley and Company for our audit. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, school board, Superintendent Sabula. My name is Curtis McBride, and I'm a CPA for McBride Manley and Company. We are the audit firm that audits the district's financial statements. And I'm here this evening to present the results of our June 30, 2018 audit. I am the managing partner for our firm. Also with me this evening are Gwen Brzezinski and Samantha Hudson. They're both managers at our firm, and they're both critical to me in the audit of the district. Before I get into the slides, I just want to give you a heads up that I handed out a physical copy of my presentation, if you would prefer to follow that way. The only thing I do ask is that you do not hand out the physical copy of my presentation to the general public. It's only for purposes of this presentation, because it does only contain our summarized financial information, and it does not contain our audit opinion. So thank you for that in advance. Now, there are 3 types of opinions you can receive from your auditor as an auditee. There is the highest opinion, or the best opinion, which is what we call an unmodified or clean audit opinion, which means that we believe the financial statements are reliable and they're in accordance with our professional standards. Then there is what we call a modified audit opinion, which means that for the most part they're in compliance and reliable, but there may be a few exceptions to that. And then there is what we call an adverse audit opinion, which means that we do not believe the financial records are reliable and they're not in compliance with our standards. So I am pleased to announce that the East China School District did receive a clean or unmodified audit opinion from our firm for the period ended June 30, 2018, which is the best opinion you can receive from your auditor. Now, I do want to clarify that we are just providing an opinion on the reliability of the financial records. We're not providing an opinion on the financial health of the district. Now, moving over to the slides. The first fund we're going to talk about is the general fund. Now, the general fund primarily derives its revenues from property taxes, state aid, and federal grants. Here we're looking at the balance sheet for the general fund. You can see the general fund had about $8,793,000 of assets on hand at June 30, 2018. Had liabilities and obligations against those assets of about $5,079,000 to finish the year with an ending fund balance of just over $3.7 million at the end of June 30, 2018. I'm going to get into a little bit more detail about the fund balance level in subsequent slides. In looking at the income statement for the general fund for the period ended June 30, 2018, you can see that the general fund generated about $14,394,000 in property taxes during 2018. It generated another $23,563,000 in state sources, so that's your state aid for the year. And you received another $1,475,000 in federal grants during the year. Now, the federal grants is primarily the special education program and Title I and Title II. So you can see your general fund generated about $40,788,000 of total revenue during 2018, and it spent about $41,239,000 during the year. So you used about $451,000 of your general fund balance during 2017, 2018 to finish the year with an ending fund balance of about $3,714,000. Now, to put that into perspective, that is about almost exactly 9% of annual expenditures in that fund. Now, there are some recommended fund balance levels. The Michigan Department of Treasury does give one benchmark as 10% of annual expenditures, so it's a little bit less than that. The Michigan Department of Education doesn't really provide you with any benchmarking. They don't provide you with a minimum or a recommended fund balance level, but what they do is they provide you with comparative data with other school districts. And I have a slide coming up soon. We'll go over that information. In this next slide, we're looking at the general fund revenues by source. Here we're comparing 2017 to 2018. You can see in 2017, the general fund generated about $40,329,000 in revenues. It did go up slightly, increase in 2018 to $40,788,000, just over a 1% increase, but that is really a little bit misleading. So you can see when you compare the 2 years, you had more money in state aid between 2017 to 2018. So in 2017, you generated about $22,810,000 in state aid, and you received $23,563,000 in 2018. So that's pretty much the increase. And the reason I say that's misleading is because the district did receive extra money to help fund its pension and retirees' health. So it cannot be used for general operations. So because the districts, and this is not unique to East China School District, this is every district that participates in the Michigan Public School Retirement System, since it is a little bit underfunded, the state of Michigan has helped by giving you extra money to help fund that. So as soon as you received those funds, you had to turn around immediately and contribute those over to the pension and retirees' health care. So again, it's not like you had additional funds for general operations. And you can see, property taxes represented about 35 or 36% of total revenues, and then state aid was about 57 or 58% of total revenues for 2018. Here we're looking at general fund expenditures by function, again comparing 2017 to 2018. You can see that the major functions for the general fund would be basic programs. Now, basic programs are the major expenditures for the actual school buildings themselves. So the elementary schools, the middle schools, and the high schools. So all the salaries and benefits and other major expenditures involved with the actual schools. So it makes sense that that would be the largest function for the district. And that represents about 54% of annual expenditures. You can see another major function, if you will, would be added needs. And that's primarily the special education program. So that makes up about 10% of annual expenditures in the general fund. Then another major function category would be operations and maintenance. So you can see that makes up about 8 or 9% of annual expenditures in the general fund. And similar to revenues, you can see you had a slight increase in expenditures between 2017 and 2018. So in 2017, the general fund spent about $40,304,000, and it spent about $41,239,000 for 2018. But again, that all goes back to that pension and retirees' health. Since the state of Michigan did give you the extra funds to fund the pension and retirees' health, you had to contribute that excess, which was an expenditure. So that explains the increase in expenditures between 2017 and 2018. Here we're looking at general fund expenditures by type going back to 2016. You can see total expenditures in 2016 were $40,243,000. They were $40,304,000 in 17 and $41,239,000 in 2018. I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but you can see that the increases are in benefits in every single year. And that is because you've had to contribute more funds to the pension and retirees health care each year to help with the underfunded status. So that really explains the increase between 2018 and 2016, specifically in the benefits category. Here we're looking at some trend analysis going back to 2011. Looking at revenues on the left and expenditures on the right, and again, we're just focusing on the general fund here. So you can see in 2011, the general fund generated about $44.4 million in total revenues, and that number has come down to about $40,788,000 for 2018. So that's about a $3.6 million decline in general operating revenues from 2011 to 2018. And that's a combination of a few things. Number one, the primary thing would be a loss in state aid, and that's directly tied to student population. So if you go back to 2011, the district has actually lost about 900 students going back to 2011. If you go back to 2007, the district has lost about 1,400 students, and that's substantial. To put that into perspective, my understanding is the current student population in Marine City and St. Clair high schools combined is about 1,400 students. So it's as if you have, if you lost students in both Marine City and St. Clair high school, that's how many less students you have today than you did back in 2007. And school funding is primarily based on student count. So after the adoption of Proposal A in 1994, it really shifted how schools are funded. Prior to that, school districts were primarily funded by property taxes. So school districts that were in communities that were in larger, wealthier communities as far as properties, they were receiving a lot more in revenues to operate their schools than communities in poorer communities. So Proposal A attempted to close that gap in funding in schools across the state. So the bottom line is East China School District does not rely as much on property tax revenues as it did 25 years ago. It's primarily based on state aid, which is tied directly to student population. So you can see in revenues on the left, going back to 2011, your revenues declined $3.6 million as a result of a student aid decline, and property taxes have actually gone down in that same time period. So you actually generated about $2.5 million less in property tax revenues in 2018 than you did going back to 2007. So looking at expenditures on the right, you can see a very similar relationship. So the peak year for expenditures here was 2011, where you spent about $43,965,000 in the general fund, and that has come down to about $41,239,000 in 2018, and that's because you had to budget accordingly for the loss in revenue sources, which are directly tied into student population. Here we're looking at general fund financial data compared to other Michigan school districts. Now this information is actually obtained from the Michigan Department of Education. They release a bulletin every year called Bulletin 1011. And the one thing I should mention is the information from the bulletin is always lagging 1 year behind. So this is information obtained from 16-17 school districts, comparing it to East China's 2017-2018 school year. So you can see probably the most important piece of information that can be gleaned from this slide would be if you look 3/4 of the way down where we have fund balance as a percentage of total expenditures. So as I mentioned in a previous slide, you're currently at about 9%. If you look at the column to the right, for 2016-2017 school year, the average for all districts throughout the state was actually 12.6%, so a little bit higher than East China School District's general fund. However, if you look at districts of similar size to East China, so districts that have roughly 4,000 to 4,499 students in that range, it was actually a little bit lower than East China, where their average was actually about 5.6% of annual expenditures. Now the next fund I want to talk about briefly is what we call the debt fund or the debt service fund. Now this fund primarily derives its revenues from property taxes, and those property taxes are used to pay off debt, outstanding bonds. Now at June 30, 2018, the district had 3 bonds outstanding for a total of $12,240,000. Now looking at the balance sheet, you can see the debt service fund had about $697,000 of cash or liquid assets on hand and finished the year with an ending fund balance of $697,000. Now the debt service fund does not have a recommended fund balance level. It just needs to have enough fund balance and resources available to make the debt payments, which it currently does. Here we're looking at the income statement for the debt service fund. You can see it generated about $5.1 million in property taxes, $54,000 in other, that's really interest is what that is. So it generated about $5,159,000 in revenues. You made bond payments in interest expenses of just over $5 million during the year to end the year with an ending fund balance of $697,000. Now the last fund I want to talk about briefly is the sinking fund. This is actually what we call a capital projects fund, and that's because the funds are used for major capital improvements throughout the district, and it's primarily funded through property taxes. Here, looking at the balance sheet, you can see the sinking fund had about $766,000 of cash and liquid assets on hand. Just had a little bit in liabilities, about $23,000 in accounts payable to finish the year with an ending fund balance of about $743,000. The last slide is the income statement for the sinking fund. You can see it generated about $693,000 in revenues, $687,000 generated in property taxes, another $6,000 in interest, and then you had expenditures of about $477,000 in what we call capital outlay. So those are the major capital improvements that I was referring to in my previous slide. Now, your sinking fund can only be used for specific purposes. So in your case, it has to be used for major repairs and construction of school buildings and for technology improvements throughout the district. And your fund balance level at $743,000, again, there is no recommended fund balance level. And my understanding is that a lot of that fund balance was used, so you don't have any excess fund balance on hand in this fund. A lot of that was actually used in July, August, and September of 2018 for its designated purpose. That's all I have for my presentation. Any questions from the board?
Questions from anyone?
Yes, please. if you watch these board meetings, you'll hear me talk about this a lot. I think I asked you this last year when you were here.
Sure.
But we talked about, or you talked about, where our funding comes from for operating costs. So our state funding is based on the 18 mills that's collected and everything else that goes into that. So if we build, or DTE builds a new gas-powered plant, will that have any effect on our balance sheet as far as operational costs?
Well, as far as your, would it help generate more revenues for the general fund? I mean, that's based on a lot of things. As I mentioned, you're not primarily funded through property taxes, and this is certainly not a knock on DTE or consumers or other utility companies, but they do have significant tax breaks, which significantly reduces their tax, their tax base, which lowers how much they pay to local communities as well as school districts. And not only that, as I mentioned, prior to 1994, the way schools were funded is about 80% of their funding was property taxes, and another 20% came from some state grants and federal grants. Well, now that's completely reversed. So not only, if there's a DTE plan, not only are they paying, the taxes on the full value of that specific plant, but again, that's such a small portion of what makes up the funding of the school district.
So it may be a net increase for the state, but that's dispersed out, and we see a tiny portion.
Correct. I know for the 2017-2018 school year, the district received roughly $7,900 per student in state funding.
Okay. And then one topic that I didn't see in your presentation, but is in the larger one, is OPEB obligations.
Sure.
And obviously that's been a large item of discussion at the state level. Can you talk a little bit about our position as it pertains to OPEB, and whether we could be seeing any additional oversight from Treasury or anything like that with where we are in regards to our liabilities?
You bring up a really good thing. So OPEB is retirees' health care. So that's the district's future estimated obligation to fund the retirees' health. That actually is presented for the first time in this year's financial statements. It actually came with a new governmental accounting standard. The liability was always there. It just was never required to be presented in the financial statement. So I first wanted to clarify that. Now, as far as one thing, we kind of addressed this a few years ago when the pension information started getting into the financial statements too. At least at this point, it is not negatively impacting the district as far as, like, one of the most critical things I could think of would be like a bond rating. Most bond rating agencies have come out and said that, having an underfunded pension or a retiree's health care is not going to negatively impact a city's or a school district's bond rating. And in your case, East China School District is in the Michigan Public School retirement system. So the entire system as a whole is a little bit underfunded. So really how that works is every school district shares in that funding. So East China School District is certainly not unique in that regard. And in my opinion, the Michigan Public School retirement system, both the pension and retirees' health, are not what I would call significantly underfunded. In the way, the reason that pensions and retiree health funds can be a little bit underfunded is because, the retirement system itself comes up with an annual required contribution from the district, and that's based on an estimate. So they try to determine things like, what is the investment growth going to be, in the fund? How long are the retirees going to live? So they're basing this on a lot of variables, which naturally, in reality, are going to be a little bit different than how they initially estimated. So you could theoretically have a situation where you're a little bit overfunded too. We haven't seen that in several years, but I think 25 or 30 years ago, you did see a lot more of that. So again, the Michigan Public School retirement system is a tad underfunded. However, each school district is sharing in contributing to that and making up for the underfunded status, and it's certainly nothing that, in my opinion, anyone should be overly concerned about at this point.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything else? Mrs. Sabula?
Thank you.
Mr. McBride, thank you so much for you and your team. Ladies, thank you so much for all the work you put in that. I know that.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item was the action items in regards to our best practice, and we will vote on accepting the audit at our next meeting. And with that, we stand adjourned.